All right, Stephen. Stephen, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
Washington State, on the east side of the state. There's actually two different states. You got the liberals on the west, and you got all the conservatives on the east. They grow the best apples and asparagus. But yeah, that's where I grew up. A lot of Chicanos, Hispanic, dominant where I grew up, and I liked Washington State. I liked being from the West Coast. But I lived all over, man. I was stationed in California. I lived in Utah for a little bit, lived in Idaho.
You're in the military?
Yeah, I did 4 years in the Marine Corps. I joined August 19th, 2001. I was in boot camp during September 11th, and we were actually the last full workup cycle before the war kicked off in '03. And we were the first ones across the border once the ground war started. But I went back in '04. Unfortunately, what happened when I came back after my second deployment, and this is my intake and my view of it now, the Marine Corps saw they couldn't get another deployment out of me. So they decided at this time, after two deployments of doing everything they asked above and beyond, they decided at this time that they're gonna pop me for marijuana. However, the whole time in the Marine Corps, I smoked marijuana. I was hot for pot right out of boot camp, and I did what they asked me to do. I was trained to do that. I was behind a 50 caliber machine gun. I had to put rounds down range. I had to see things that I'll spend the rest of my life trying to forget. And then they failed to take care of the transitioning when I came home. They failed to offer anything. Their help was a march down to the chaplain and got a hug from him. And that was a turning point in my life. I realized that, I had all this camaraderie and brotherhood and value system of don't leave a Marine behind. I felt like I got left behind, and I think I'm on my way back to taking care of that. Mark, when you asked me to do this interview, yesterday I started this program where I'm going to be off crystal meth for 30 days. And I'm going to apply all the tools that I learned in the many rehabs that I've attended and the principles that I already know that work by praying. All the little things that you do throughout the day help you stay sober. And the biggest thing about it is being in service, and I feel like I can do that with some of these talents that my Father in Heaven has given me. I know I kind of just went all over the place there for you, but.
So crystal meth has been in your life for how long?
When I got back from Iraq in '04, I went home on post-deployment leave, and it was the first time I tried crystal meth. All my buddies that I smoked marijuana with growing up and stuff, were all potheads, right? They were all doing this drug. And I had no idea about it, and my first intake was about a line that big. And I snort it. That's how I like to use it. I don't shoot up, and smoking is okay. I just don't really get the effects that I like from snorting it. And that's 8 hours of snorting that drug. I was gone. I didn't have to remember what happened in Iraq. I didn't have to remember all the traumatic events, right? And I realized I had a problem. This drug took over, and it's been a part of my life. I've had windows of sobriety since then, but not long enough to really be the person I know that I was created to be. I went on a 2-year mission right after that for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I was a Mormon missionary in Texas. And I was sober. And what I found is I was serving other people every day. And I was never happier, and that was the solution. And the cool thing about it is it's actually the 12 steps that they teach you in AA. I was doing that, I just didn't know it at the time. Right after that, I got married. I came home and got married, and I didn't take a lot of thought of who I was marrying, I was a little bit older missionary. Most of them leave when they're 19. I was 25. And I felt like I loved this girl. And for about 6 months, it was fun, you know. She was a stripper, an ex-stripper. I didn't know before we got married, and all that came out later. But either way, after that 6 months, she got pregnant with my first son, Solomon. And it just kind of went downhill. A lot of drugs and alcohol, a lot of turmoil, a lot of we're very toxic when we're around each other, and it wasn't fair for my kids. I ended up having three children with this woman, and I still love her today. In 2016, unfortunately, she passed away. She had a drug overdose, and a lot of times I feel like it's my fault. However, I have a sporadic moments of comfort felt by the Spirit of God, confirming to me that it isn't my fault, and that He still loves me, and I still have a chance, you know.
What do you feel is your fault?
There's a lot of times where I could have took over and made different choices, you know. Ultimately, in the end, what happened was my kids were living with her. We were separated for a little while, and two of my babies, so I have 2 boys and a girl, and my baby girl was days old at this point, and the youngest, my middle is Sebastian. They both tested positive for crystal meth, and in her care. And instead of me standing up and going through the system and getting the rights to my kids, I kind of chose her over them. Ultimately, I chose the drug over them, and I have a lot of resentment for that. But just me sharing that gives me power, you know. It helps me realize of these weaknesses that I have. But yeah, I guess the biggest reason why I think I'm out here is because I feel like I never had the opportunity to be a father. And I think every man that has children needs that opportunity. I don't think it was ever given to me to fully take the reins of these children. They're in my brother's care at this point, and they call my brother's wife mom, which that's fine, you know. I'm grateful that they're with family, but I do miss them. I didn't see them for Christmas. Again, choices that I made. But I feel like it can change. It can change as long as I'm humble and I'm ready to make that change, you know. And it's not that far away. There's a lot of hope still left in my heart. So.
How old are you, Stephen?
I'm 38.
38. And you've been homeless for how long?
So since COVID happened, I had an apartment in Phoenix. I was on a lease. I was sober. I actually worked all the 12 steps for the first time. And then all of a sudden, this AA program, which thrives off service work and helping the other alcoholic who still suffers. That's how the program works. Gave me only one option, and that was attend a meeting on Zoom. And I used that as a reason to go get high again. And since 2020, last year, I've chose not to have a residency. I've also chose not to have a phone plugged in. I'm an artist, so I do all kinds of art. For instance, the simple picture right here I just ripped off, it can be a 3D piece of art. It's pretty easy if you can make his face pop out just by folding the paper. And you could see all of a sudden there he is, you know what I mean? And I like doing art because it gives me an opportunity to create something. And I feel like my Heavenly Father gave me that ability, you know, and it's another opportunity to share about Him with other people. But back to your question about how long I've been homeless. It's been about 1.5 years now that I've chose not to have a residency or have a phone. And I think I'm realizing now after 1.5 years, these days fly by. It's like I'm in this weird nightmare that just, I remember bits and pieces of like days before, and then next thing I know, it's like a month went by, you know, and I didn't accomplish anything. And I'm still doing the same thing that I was doing a year earlier. And that in itself is degrading. It's not degrading, but there's a lot of remorse there, you know, a lot of like I want that to change. And when I see it's not changing, it's like, what do I do? You know, our thinking, our regular thinking leaves when we get in a situation like this, and we become almost like a zombie, where our choices all of a sudden are the same choices, and we know what the solution is, we know what we can do, but we choose not to, you know. And I don't know why it's like that, why it lasts for such a long time, but I want it to change, and you know, I'm willing to do that. I guess what's driving me, what's keeping me out here is I feel with my art, I can be my own business leader, you know, but I have to be sober in order to do that. And I haven't lined those things up yet, but I feel like this New Year's coming, and why not give it a shot? So yesterday I started this 30-day program to where I'm not doing any more crystal meth. That's the main thing. I'm being accountable, but every day I'm bringing a service to somebody, and I'm expressing my art and whatever service that is. And I'm doing something, I guess, out of the box. So yesterday was day one, and I was here at the overpass at the I-5, right down the road by the Greyhound station here in LA. And I painted day one kind of under this overpass. And then I jumped up on this overpass and was just kind of hanging, did a couple pull-ups, and realized that that could be a mini art show, you know? And I have these ideas in my mind, but I just need to channel it and have, you know, a little bit slower, I guess you could say. In Marine Corps, we say fast is smooth and smooth is fast, you know? Or slow is smooth and smooth is fast. There you go. And sometimes I feel like I'm just running in circles.
Do you feel like your life kind of went off the rails after your military time? Or were there problems before?
Yeah. I think that's kind of, you know, in the Marine Corps, I adapted to what they had, and that was alcohol. You know, there was many times where I blacked out in the Marine Corps, or, you know, drank a whole 18-pack in one day. Like, but alcohol is not my drug of choice, and I don't even drink alcohol today. But I did that because that's what was offered, and it's just a weird thing that we can go to war and die for our country. And, I mean, and they just feed us this alcohol like it's a solution, you know. I went to a what is it called? It's kind of like a foreign wars veterans, VFW type thing in Florida recently, and I went there just seeking some kind of help because I'm a combat vet, and it was a bar, and all they did was like, here, have a drink, here, sit down, and I just was like, what is with this, man? Like, it's like they're dumbing us, and they don't want us to. I don't know. My feelings about the VA, the reason I'm not connected with the VA because veteran affairs is not veteran help. It's veteran affairs. They're staying in your life. It's another reason for men to die for their country is the VA, is the way I look at it. and for how they took care of me, I have a good conduct medal and a bad conduct discharge. And my conduct in the Marine Corps was not bad. In fact, I went above and beyond. I have 11 ribbons. I went above and beyond. I was the point man when we were on foot. This is my second deployment in 04 in Fallujah. The same time that Scout Sniper guy, that American Sniper, the movie, I was in that same place he was. And I was the gunner. I was the point man on foot, and I was the gunner on the vehicle. And both positions are the most vulnerable position for my team. And I did that because none of these other men were going to do it. And that itself, some kind of service after you get out. And I came home and you know, I popped on this piss test, and I just kind of left the Marine Corps for 28 days. Because I didn't want to go back for a third time. And they put me on restriction, and I went and smoked some marijuana on restriction. So they threw me in the brig. And here I am in the brig after these tours amongst people that are non-expeditionary, these other Marines, and I'm getting treated like a, you know. And then I got out with a bad conduct discharge. They just wanted to get me out, you know, and I never challenged that. I never went to get that upgraded. So I feel like that's the biggest thing that's holding me back is upgrading my discharge. Once I can just get that taken care of, or at least on the way of getting taken care of, I feel like that'll build some confidence, and that goes a long way for me.
What's your biggest regret?
My biggest regret is not stepping up and taking care of my kids. The cool thing about it is that they're still young. And I'm still alive.
How old are your kids?
The oldest is 10. And then I have Solomon and Sebastian. Sebastian is 9. And I have a little baby girl that right after their mom passed away, they were placed with my brother. He was stationed in Sierra Vista in Arizona at the time, and he got stationed in Germany right after that. So my kids went to Germany for 3 years. So that time after she died, my kids are in another country. Those 3 years kind of really broke me, you know. And if I could go back in time, I would go back to when that happened, and I would change the choices I made. And hopefully it would be a different outcome, but I feel like I can still be part of their life. It's not the situation I want it to be, but I still deserve to be their dad and be part of their life, you know?
You still talk with your family?
Yeah, so actually once COVID happened, I left Phoenix because I didn't believe what was going on. I don't believe what the news was saying. I wanted to go see it for myself. And it's kind of, if I could relate anything to being out here to I guess normal life, normal people is I'm not one to take someone's word for it, especially if it comes off a media source. And so I decided I was going to go see my family. And I lived with my mom again for the first time in 20 years for 3 months. And I realized I couldn't live with my mom. And it wasn't the best situation, you know, where I'm just a growing man and I didn't want to live with her. And that's when I went from there to Spokane and then to Florida. Because I got remarried right after my wife died in 2018, so 2 years later. Yeah, so kind of what happened with me with once COVID happened, it happened in March, right? And July 4th is when I left Phoenix. I was living in Phoenix, had my own apartment, and I wanted to relate to normal people. I guess I'm the type, I need to see it myself these days, especially today. I have to go. I'm not gonna believe it, and it's gonna, you know, I didn't believe all this was happening all over the world. So I went home and I saw my mother still lives where I grew up in Washington, and I decided to live with her for a little bit, you know, and my last actual on paper job was picking peppers in my hometown, and it was a seasonal job, but you know, I loved it, and I was living with her, and I realized it's hard to live with your parents, especially when you're 38 years old. So I decided to go see this other woman that I got married to right after. And I mean, I can back up a little bit. I got married again after my wife died in 2018. Okay, and I felt like I just wanted to get to love somebody, and you know, and it was too fast of a marriage, and I didn't know this woman I married to. She's a immigrant from the Dominican Republic. Anyway, she haven't seen her in over a year prior to me leaving my mom's house. Okay, once I left my mom's house, I went to Florida to finalize the divorce. It was actually the day before Valentine's Day. For some reason, I was like, well, this is what I'll do for Valentine's Day. I'll divorce her. And the power of this drug, okay? I went from wanting to do that in February to waking up on the beach in October, not accomplishing anything. I went from Spokane to Daytona. I drove it in 47 hours. And I was in Daytona Beach for 6 months on a Ferris wheel, if you will. Not doing anything. Realized one thing though, that I can make money sketching people on a beach. And I ran with that, and I fed that into my addiction. And I would make enough money to go get another sack, you know? And if instead of being disciplined and working at least a half a day, I would triple the income. But no discipline there. Fueled by an addiction, and marijuana and meth. And I feel like I had a kind of a breakdown recently for the first time in a long time. Where I ended up in the hospital. And so I made a decision to leave Florida. There was no reason I was there, you know, and to come see some family. So on the 11th of this month, I got into Phoenix, but this is the erratic thinking that this drug will do for you. I went from Phoenix to LA. I stayed on the bus and thought, well, I don't need to be in Phoenix. There's more people in LA. I don't have no family here, so I came to LA. You know, I'm an artist. I make little pictures really big on walls, and I do portraits and I do abstract. I love it. But since the 11th, and today I believe is the 27th, I've been here and haven't done anything. Like I said earlier, I started this 30-day program yesterday, but that's just 1 day sober. If I can get 10 days sober, I'm starting to wake up, but it's not going to be until about 90 days to where I'm starting to actually think like somebody that's normal, and these erratic choices. So my brother bought me a Greyhound ticket, and I haven't talked to this brother in a long time, and he was happy to hear from me, and he's like, he's like, everyone deserves a second chance. And that was on the 11th of December, and I haven't called him back since. And Christmas just came and went. It was just another day, and we have all this hype. Oh, we're gonna do this and this. We're gonna change this for Christmas. I'm gonna see my kids. And the day comes, and it's like there's no ambition. I get bursts of ambition and motivation, but it doesn't last long because I'm always feeding that into my addiction, and then I'll forget, or I'll not be motivated anymore. All of a sudden, my whole way of thinking changes for that day, and I lost that day. You can't get that day back. It's kind of been happening like this. You can't get these days back. Every breath that we have is granted to us. And I feel like if I stay on this road, it's not going to be very long to where I'm not going to be in this existence anymore. And I want that to be different. I want to wake up in the morning in a bed, to get up and when it's raining outside, not have to worry about what's going to get wet, what's not. I think it's good to have a house, but you don't have to be plugged in like everybody else and have a 9-to-5 job and do all. I could still be a business owner and have a home. I feel like those are all still within my reach. I just I need to gain some time between my last use is the biggest thing, so I can start making better choices.
Do you think staying down here on Skid Row lessens your chances of staying clean?
I think, yeah, if I'm down here on Skid Row, I don't have a fighting chance. First I gotta remove myself from whatever that drug is, and there's gonna be maybe some intervention. I don't think the intervention is necessary as long as I'm grounded in a routine and have some structure, and I think that I can provide that. But until I actually do that structure on a daily basis and have a couple people that I'm accountable to, that's the other thing about this addiction. If you're not accountable to somebody, it's really easy to go relapse. And so as long as I'm accountable and have some structure, and those things are provided with like inpatient help, right? I feel like eventually I'm going to be out in the real world, so why go through that 30 days? I feel like I'll be wasting that 30 days, But in reality, it might be a big help for me. It might give me that thinking back that I need.
With getting out of here, getting on a bus somewhere to another town, another city?
Yeah, so
help you?
My whole plan, my whole story for my brother about him helping me with his ticket was because I lived in Phoenix for 14 years. And for the first time since 2007, my license is now good and valid in Phoenix. One of the good things I did after COVID was I went home and took care of an old misdemeanor DUI that I had. And so my whole plan was to come in Phoenix and get my license. And I haven't collected any of my stimulus money yet. I was going to do that. You need a residence. You need to be somewhere stable to where you can 2 weeks later you can get that money. So I've been waiting to get some sobriety time first, you know. But I think like those things are gonna happen. Now my plan is to go back to Phoenix. This drug was to make you forget about your plans and do something that you didn't plan on doing. And that's kind of what happened with me these last 14, 15 days that I've been here, you know. But I actually got my bus ticket right now to go back to Phoenix.
Oh, good.
So I've been kind of waiting to do that. My father's in Phoenix, you know, I want to see him. And you know, the other bad thing about this addiction is you hurt your people you love the most, you know. And they're also the ones that it's the hardest to gain the trust back. And I feel like my dad should give me that trust back right away, and he hasn't yet. So I have a little resentment towards that. That's part of the reason I didn't want to stay in Phoenix or stop there, you know. But he just has his best interest in mind for me, and it's something that I need to get over and grow up already. So my plan is to get back to Phoenix. I want to get plugged in. There's a sober living home there that I was living before. It's called the Hope House. It's a really good program. It's structured. I'll be around other dudes that are working the steps. Obviously, get a sponsor, attend a meeting. I have no idea where a meeting is here. I have nowhere to even look.
Well, I'd highly recommend getting away from here.
Absolutely.
Just get lost. Go anywhere.
Yeah.
Go Phoenix. Go San Diego. San Francisco. Just go somewhere. But this is the worst place you could possibly be if you're trying to get clean.
Yeah. I you know, and every city has their Skid Row, you know, and
yeah, it's everywhere. But here, this is
yeah,
this is on steroids.
It is. But yeah, that's my plan. And then I started this 30-day program just to help myself be accountable to somebody, you know, and something I can mark down and say, okay, it's day 3.
Yeah.
No, I haven't used today. So I'm grateful for that.
There's a lot of signs that you're moving in the right direction, which is great. Stephen, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in all of this?
Don't take for granted the little luxuries that we have. You know, when you're getting your kids from school and you're getting them out of their car seat and stuff, like those things are special, you know. And I value family. And one thing I learned is family is not necessarily who you grew up with and who your brothers and sisters are. Families, we're all family. We all come from the same supreme creator as far as I'm concerned. And I realize that there's a lot of good people out here still. And the world's not all in despair, you know. I think that not taking those things for granted and realizing that if you treat people the way you want to be treated, the stuff that they teach us when we're younger, you know, the golden rule, it goes a long way when you're on the streets. Things come back to haunt you. And then one thing I learned in Iraq was God does answer prayers. And that's one thing that's becoming more evident to me out here on the streets. He does care about us. He's very mindful of who we are and what we're going through.
All right, Stephen. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I wish you lots of luck with what you're doing.
Thank you, man. Sorry, I was starting to cry and stuff, bro.